Everybody can experience feeling lost sometimes. We all know what it's like to feel lost. The question is, how do we find ourselves? How do we find our way back? And that's the subject of today's lesson. You know, there's a very interesting Mishnah, a teaching from the Torah, about the seal. The seal, the Torah classifies as a land animal, even though he spends most of his life in the water. We have to understand what it is about the seal that makes him considered to be a land animal, even though he comes from the sea. If you understand the answer to that question, you'll be able to understand the deepest point of today's lecture. Because we all have this need to return home, right? This is a good time to talk about that right before the Jewish New Year. It's really not just the Jewish New Year. It's the New Year for the whole world, Rosh Hashanah. There is a force of return in the world. Babies always, if we look at babies, we can learn from everything. We look at a toddler who loses sight of his mother. He panics and he wants to return to mom, right? We know that in nature, the salmon fish, they always want to return home, especially at the end of their lives. We don't have to wait to the end. There is something that goes on, Rabbi Nachman calls it the force of return, that all the creations in the world, everything that God made, wants to return to its source in Him. It's a good teaching for right before Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year, the beginning of the year and the end of the previous year. In order to understand how to return and how to find our way back, we have to understand something about the nature of a person. We have to understand something about who we are and what our real nature is. Because we can be misled into thinking that it's natural, it's part of our nature to try to acquire a lot of money and to try to be powerful and influence and to dominate nature or dominate other people, God forbid. That's not really the nature of man. That's the societal conditioning that makes us think that that's the nature of man, to compete and to win. It's not the nature of man to want to win. It's not the nature of man to want to acquire material things. It's not the nature of man and women to want to be famous. So what is the nature of a human being? The nature of the human being is to want to return back to its creator, to become one with its creator, what we call dveikus. To become one with its creator, that essence of who a person is, which is his holy soul, which we call emunah. We say that the soul and faith are the same thing, that you are your soul means you are your faith. We'll talk more about how that works, that the identity of a person is really his faith. But that part of us doesn't want to fight against nature and other people. It wants to yield to God. It wants to give in, surrender, and return back, sort of like be pulled back in that natural force, that force of return that the Rebbe talks about, which if you let go and relax, sort of just pulls you in. Because that's who you really are. You're a soul that's trying to get returned back to its source, like you're a spark, a little flame that's trying to get back into the big fire. Okay? In order to do that, so that's our nature. The nature is to yield, to let go, to nullify our egos, to nullify ourselves, and to allow ourselves to go back to where we came from. Back to God. Where did we come from? We came from another world. Right? This is not really our home. Our home is in heaven. Our home is in the next world, so to speak. You know, there's another teaching from the Torah that before a baby is born and comes into this world, the baby is hanging out, so to speak, in his mother's womb. And there's an angel in there learning the whole Torah with the baby. You learned the whole Torah while you were in your mother's womb. Kol HaTorah Kula. You knew everything. You knew the deepest mysteries of life. And then at the end of 9 months of learning with this angel, the angel said, okay, now you're going out into a different kind of world completely, a world where you can't see the truth. A world where you're not going to be able to see your Creator so clearly. It's a world that's very camouflaged. It's very dark in some ways. And you're going to go out and you're going to see things that won't make sense to you. And people are going to tell you things about yourself that aren't true. And people are going to tell you things about life that aren't true. And you're going to see bad things happening to good people. And you're going to see seemingly good things happening to bad people. It's a topsy-turvy world. But this is where you're going, and the angel says, okay, touches you, makes you forget everything. You forget everything that you learned, and now you're coming out into this world. And our job is to be able to recover what we forgot. What we forgot, but what we still know, which is still, it's still part of us, it's just hidden. Needs to be revealed. And this is our journey through a lifetime where we need to reveal that. But the point is that this is not our home. This is a journey. And we're trying to find our way back to the source, back to the wisdom, back to the one who created us. That's the point of our lives. And we all have in us mechanisms to allow us to search for God. We have our own, so to speak, search engine or GPS system that's built into us that allows us to search for God. And to do that, first we have to relax. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov said that the only reason that the whole world is so far away from God is because of a lack of Yishuv Hadas, a lack of settled mind, a calm mental composure. Once we have that Yishuv Hadas, once we have that relaxation, which is the basis, then we can search. We can find Him. We can find Him even in this world, even in the craziest places, even in places where you'd never think you'd find God. You're going to be able to find Him. The first place that we need to find God, and we're going to talk about that right now, is in ourselves. Because God is in us. God is good. That's the definition, you might say, of God. He's the ultimate good. And anything that's good is coming from Him. Ki Hashem tov l'kol. He's good. He's good in every way. Good to everybody. Loves everybody. So we have to know that anytime we find anything good about our lives, anytime you find anything good that happened to you, or anything good about you, even if it's the smallest little bit of good, you have found God. And how much is a little bit of God? You can't you can't imagine what a little bit of God is. Even what a little speck of God is, a little molecule. Right? An atomic particle of God, so to speak. Infinite. We have to find God in ourselves. We have to do it now. Now's the time. Once we find God in ourselves, then we can see God in other people. We can see God in the world more easily. We can judge ourselves favorably. We can judge other people more favorably. We can have a great Rosh Hashanah. We can have God will then judge us well. Because when we judge others well, we show that we're happy with everything that God is giving us. God gives us a good judgment. So we have to believe in ourselves. We have to believe in what we call spiritual events. If you think about this, the two Mishnahs that I just spoke to you about, especially the second one, about living in a we have to realize that we're living in a reality, but we don't really truly see the reality that we're living in. God is reality. God is the only reality. But since we can't see God, we can't see true reality. Right? It's sort of like looking at an orange and mistaking the peel of the orange for being the orange itself. It's just the outer covering. It's just the external part of the orange. But it's not the essence of the orange. The essence of reality is not what we see. The essence of reality is therefore not our worries and our fears. The essence of reality is not the things that we worry about, or we fret about, or we get sad about, or we get angry about. These things are not reality. These things are not the essence of truth or essence of reality. We have to return from these things. We have to leave these things. And we have to search for the truth. What is the truth? Okay. The truth is that the real world, the world that we don't normally see, is a spiritual world. There's things going on all around us that we can see if we take time to think and we take time to meditate and pray. We can be much more in touch on a daily basis, on a moment-to-moment basis, with the spirituality, the sea of spirituality that we're swimming through in this voyage called life. The spirituality all around us comes to us at times when we're ready for it. For example, you go out to a field and you start to slow down and you begin to talk to God. And you let yourself relax and feel that force of return. Feel as your breathing is slowing down. That you can use your breathing, right? And you can use your imagination to search for God. These are your search engines cranking up. As your body slows down, as you slow down, then your spiritual apparatus, your spiritual equipment that God gave you and everybody starts to kick into gear. And as you synchronize your breathing, you slow yourself down and you're not rushing, you're not pushing against life. Now you're letting life come to you. You're letting life come to you like each breath, like each breath, like each inhalation comes to you. You're more open, you're more receptive to the godliness in the world. You're more open and receptive to being able to connect with your Creator. Blessed be His name. And so what's going to happen is He's going to start to send you memories, positive things about yourself, about your life, experiences you had, people that you knew, people that gave you nice compliments about yourself, parents, teachers, friends, neighbors, coaches, rabbis. You're going to remember compliments. You're going to remember things that you achieved. People are going to come back to you into your imagination, your grandmother, your beloved grandmother, your grandfather, a favorite uncle, a teacher, somebody who you were close to, somebody who was mashpir on you, had a big influence on you. And you're going to recall some of the nice experiences, sights, sounds, feelings that you had. You could remember the taste of your grandmother's challah. You could remember what it was to sit out in a sukkah on a beautiful day during Chol Moed when you were 5 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old. You can remember other things, like the first time when you were a little baby and you walked outside on the fresh cut grass with bare feet on. You can remember the feeling of your feet on the fresh grass in the spring. Or you could remember the feeling of just being so calm, watching a snowflake, fall down a window as you're staring out the window early morning. Watching the rain come down. We all have special memories that are stored away in our unconscious minds, and our unconscious minds are very much connected with our spiritual minds. They transcend time, it transcends time, transcends space. But we have to understand that these experiences are very, very real. They're no less real than the real actual things that we see in front of us, that are really more like the skin or the peel of the orange, but not the orange itself. So a person that goes back and remembers her camp experiences where she's sitting in a pool and her legs are just dangling in the water and she's just sitting calmly. Right? Or somebody who hiked up a mountain and reached the top and felt so good and so empowered when he reached the peak. Or a person who was into sports and can still remember the cracking sound of the bat as it hit the ball and he saw that ball go at an unbelievable trajectory right out of the park. Hit a home run. Everybody cheered. He was a hero for the day. Well, these experiences didn't happen just to be forgotten about. These were gifts. These were gifts of joy. These were little bits of light that God sent into your life or someone else's life to be remembered and reviewed and to be put together with many, many other pieces and dots of light so they can be used and utilized in your life today. Maybe not in the exact same way that it was used back then. Because if your coach said, hey, that was great, you know, what a home run, you know. Today, the home run might be believing that you can sit down and learn a sugya and that you can understand it. And that you can own it. You can learn a piece of Talmud and you can remember it. Right? Or when somebody told you, hey, you know, that was a great job. Thanks for mowing the lawn. Thanks for, you know, shoveling the snow. You're a good kid. You're a hard worker. That plants into your mind that idea that you can work hard, Now you're not going to work hard maybe at the same things, but you can still work hard. It's a gift. It's a Nakuda Tova. It's a piece of light that we need to be able to access and harness and utilize together and put all these little dots together. You remember the game we used to play by connecting the dots? You know, maybe as a child you did that. There's a whole bunch of dots on the paper and you connect the dots and it makes a pretty picture. Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to go back and we're going to connect all of the dots of our lives, which are the positive things. And then you're going to see who you really are. It's going to make a picture of you, the real you. Who are you? You are your desires. You are your good intentions and your good desires, your ratzon. That's who you are. You're not only what you accomplish. I have a lot of goals in my life that hopefully I'll get to accomplish, but I may not get to accomplish all of the goals that I have. But that's not who you are. You are all the things you wanted. You are the finished product of all of your desires. It's not in your hands to be able to finish all the things that you dream about doing and that you want to do all the good things you want to do for other people and all of the good things that you want to do for the world. If it's not in your hands which it isn't, it's in God's hands only to do for those things to get done. He's the Baal Hamasim. He's the master of action. Outcomes, the results are up to him. It's only in our hands to pray for these things. It's only in our hands to want these things. That's why when we get to heaven after 120 years, when we go before the heavenly tribunal, nobody's going to ask you, why didn't you do X, Y, and Z? But they will ask you, why didn't you desire to do X, Y, and Z? Why didn't you really want it more from the depths of your heart? Why didn't you pray harder for X, Y, and Z? Whatever it is. That will be held accountable for. So we have to search, we have to harness our desires, and we have to want these things. Like the good things that you have to want them like you can't live without them. Like you absolutely can't live without them. And that's the way to pray. The way to pray now, especially, and on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, is to go before God like, God, I can't live without you. I can't live without more faith. I can't live without more emunah. I can't live without more Torah. I gotta have it. You know? What are you showing God when you pray like that? What are you showing God when you say, God, I can't go on if I don't have more of you. I can't live without you. What are you showing God when you pray like that? showing him that your desire is very, very strong. You show him that your ratzon is really strong, especially if he hears you pray like that every day. He says, this guy really wants that. And you know what happens when God sees that that's what a person really wants? It's a famous teaching from the Talmud. The way that a person wants to go, that's the way he's led. That's the way they lead him in heaven. You'll get it. You'll get what you want. If your desire is strong enough, you'll have it. You'll have it. We have to believe this with purity. We have to believe this with our authentic selves. We have to believe, we have to go before him and ask him, convince me this is true. There's still a part of me, a doubting part of me. I want to return back. I want to know it's true. I want to know it's worth the effort to pray like this. So we ask him, God, help me to believe in myself. Help me to believe in my holy goals. Help me to believe that to pursue this way of life, to pursue a holy way of life, to have more holiness, more kedusha, more personal holiness, is a good thing. If anybody has any doubt about any of the commandments of the Torah, they should just ask God, please, show me why it's so important that I should guard my eyes. I sort of believe it's important, but I don't quite get it. What's so wrong about looking around? And if you really want to know the answer to that question, if a person sincerely wants to know the truth, if you honestly want to know what's right and what's wrong, Rabbi Shalom Arush says, he quotes Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, you will find out. Anyone that really wants to know the truth will get it. You'll get the truth. You'll get it. It just takes honesty and it takes perseverance. Ultimately, anybody that wants to know the real truth is going to discover, and first he has to, as we said before, let go. He has to nullify himself, nullify his ego, relax, take time out, go away from the world for a while, be alone. And when you're alone, that's when you can do this. You can really contemplate, you can ask these questions. And then, as you relax and you breathe slowly, you'll feel yourself getting pulled in. You'll feel that force of return. You'll feel that you don't have any connection anymore to worrying or to being anxious about anything. And you'll go more into this other world, this world of Emunah, this world of spirituality that we're talking about, where you can really clarify the truth for yourself. This is how we return. This is how we return. This is how we remove doubts. This is the spiritual nature of man. To let go and let God. It's a famous expression that's getting around. Let go and let God. We let go of us. We let go of our egos. We let go of and we nullify ourselves. And then we can return back to Him. And this is really the secret of the seal. The seal, which we said, is spending most of its time in the sea, is still classified as a land animal. Why? Because when the seal is scared, when the seal is frightened, he swims ashore. He swims onto the land. And that's interesting because the Torah defines him as a land animal, because the Torah looks at him and says, okay, what is he going to do when he needs me? What is the seal going to do when he needs his creator? When he needs help, so to speak? When he's scared? like we get worried, frightened, scared, panicky from all kinds of things. Right? What's he going to do? Where's he going to run? Where do we run when we get scared? Do we run to, take some pills? Do we run right away to psychotherapy? Do we run to do worse things? Or do we run to our Creator? Do we go back home? Do we go back to the source of our lives? The Creator who's everything. A person who nurtures a relationship with the Creator, who yields to his nature, which is to have a close and personal connection with his Creator all day long, every minute of the day, lives in both worlds simultaneously. We can't abdicate our responsibilities to live in this physical world. He brought us here for a reason, to accomplish certain things. But we don't have to be stuck here and forget about the real world, our real home. We can live in a dual reality. And that is the fortunate person who has forged a relationship with the Creator and has the Creator with him by his side all day long. Feels protected by the Creator, feels understood by the Creator, can ask the Creator questions when he has questions. Can always stop if he feels too much stress building up and release that stress through breathing, through meditations, and through being able to talk to him. And then he very quickly returns home. This type of a person doesn't have to wait until Rosh Hashanah to return home, or Yom Kippur to return home. This person doesn't have to wait to the end of a 120-year life cycle to return home. God forbid. This person is returning home with every breath. This person is returning home with every moment of awareness that he's living in the King's palace. That we're not just living in a city or a town or a house. We're living in a much bigger edifice. We're living in the King's palace. What is the King's palace? It's your real home. It's your royal home, because you are a prince or a princess. And when you realize that, you're going to realize you're living in the King's house. You're living in the house of your Father. Right? And when you have that awareness that you're living, that you are part of the royal family and you're living in your Father's home, in your Father's palace, you're going to think differently about the way you speak, and you're going to think differently. Your thoughts are going to be more elevated. And the way you eat is going to be different. And what you eat is going to be different. And what you look at is going to be different. And what you want to listen to is going to be different. When you have that awareness that you're in the King's palace, you're going to want to speak to people who are more like you, who also know where they come from, who know where their true home is. You're going to want to talk to your brothers and sisters who know that they're your brothers and sisters. Really, everybody is your brother and sister in some way. Some of us are closer relatives, closer relations than others. But even the closest, even a person who's so close to the King, if he doesn't know, if he's out on the street, if he's outside the King's house, if he's out in the cold and he doesn't know who he is or who his father is, he's going to go downstream. You know, like that salmon that goes way out into the sea and gets lost. And then realizes, wait, I got to go back. It's scary out here. I'm so many thousands of miles away from where I need to be. He has to find his way back. We have to all find our way back. My prayer is that we should all find our way back this year. So, this is the answer for all of our worries and all of our fears. This is the way to have positive thinking without having to strain to have positive thinking. You don't have to try and exert yourself and push, because pushing is against our nature. By letting go, we release and we yield and we give in. We nullify ourselves. We make ourselves small in relation to Him. It's a humbling experience. But by making ourselves small, by realizing the vastness of Hashem, our Holy Father, He makes you great. He makes you big. You become huge. And you can have a power to help your family, your children, to have peace in your home. You have more power to make money. You have more greater health. And you can have a wonderful influence on your neighbors, on all your friends, on your whole community, on the whole world. Could be that's part of your mission, to have a huge impact on the world. Maybe you'll find out this year just what an enormous spiritual mission you are on that you didn't know. So, we have to remember that we're, as we go through life, that we're living in these two realities. The only way to get an awareness, a sensitivity that we're living in these realities is to do the meditations that we teach. You can find out more about the meditations and the coaching tools and strategies that we teach about by calling toll-free number, which is 718-577-2975. You can call from anywhere, 718-577-2975. Press 1, extension 1, and speak to Rabbi Aaron Dubinsky. And he can tell you how you can consult with us and get more information about what we do here. Call anytime between 2 in the afternoon and 11 o'clock at night, Israel time. And Rabbi Aaron is there to take your call. He's so easy to speak to. Such a happy person. So full of interesting stories and so much knowledge. So call us 718-577-2975. We have to learn to live in these two realities. And we need these tools and techniques to be able to switch over, to know how, when we're lost, how we can find our way back. And in many, many ways, dozens and dozens of different ways. And some ways work better for some people. So we teach a lot of different things. And then people gravitate to the ones that work best for them. That's why we have a sort of a buckshot approach. You know, we teach many different ways of doing these things, coming back to the Creator. And you find what path, what fits for you, because everybody's on their own track. You know, you're the only train on your track. Did you know that? There are no other trains on your track. Right? That's why we can't look to the left and right and see what other people are doing on their trains. Because then we're going to not reach the destination that we're supposed to get to. Okay? So, we should all be zoicher to, in a sense, emulate the seal. You know? God says it gives us this beautiful world where He created all these animals and all of nature before He created man. And then He creates man, you know, first in thought and last in creation, because He wanted everything to be set up, because this is the stage in which we live out our lives. And everything in this physical world can be used to help man. It's all about you. The whole creation, everything was created for you, so that you could return to your Creator, that you could have a blissful life, just like you had before you came down, even before you came into your mother, even before you learned with the angel, when you were basking in the glory of God in heaven. You can have that even here in this world. Wow. To be able to unify your pre-creation self with your post-creation self here in this world. This is the purpose. This was God's purpose. This is a very deep teaching. This is really God's purpose for the creation. It's His whole purpose for the creation. And when you align yourself with that purpose, you're a needed reality. God needs you. Right? You're a Metzias that has a purpose. You're one of the royal family. You're one of the royal servants, and God needs many, many different types of servants in his home, in his palace. That's why we're all so uniquely different. We're all so different from each other, which is sometimes a challenge because we have to learn to love each other despite our differences. Sometimes the differences get in the way, but really when we see that that's happening, that's also a sign that we have to return to him, because that shouldn't really happen at all. We should think everybody's differences are beautiful. And we should start to see how our differences are supposed to fit into everybody's differences. Because really, when we peel away the skin of the orange, we get to the truth that we're really all one. We're really one big soul, right? God, the Jewish people, and the Torah are all one. This is a teaching from the Holy Zohar. So this isn't something that we have to create. It's already created. This is this is already there. We just have to reveal it. We have to bring it out. So each individual person does his avodah, does what he has to work on, fixing whatever it is that he has to fix. Then we're gonna reveal this, and we're gonna look at each other. And we're gonna say, "Hey, look, you know what? You're not my competitor. I don't know what's wrong with me. I thought all year you were my competitor. You know, you're my colleague. We're working together. We're working for the same boss. You know what? I'm praying for your success. I'm praying for my success, but I'm also praying for your success, because your success is my success, and my success is your success. It's not about me now. It's about we." When a person has that attitude, that's a person who has a connection with Hashem. That's a person who's a Baal Emunah. That's a person who has let go of all of the false beliefs that this world of falsehood puts into a person's brain. The world is falsehood. The world says, look at the outside of the orange, don't look what's inside. Right? The world says, look, if you look at a watermelon, right, what do you see? You cut up a watermelon, you see a big red fruit. It's all red, right? Red is not such a nice color usually. When in a spiritual sense, red is not the best color. Right? You see all this red. Well, that's this world. Right? But what is a watermelon? A watermelon is not that red stuff. A watermelon is like 99% water, right? It just looks like a lot of red stuff, but it's really water, right? And the Torah is compared to water. And the Torah is truth. And that's where we are, right? So Hashem created the world with the Torah. So, we have to know the secret of the seal. And as a very chashuv yid told me just before this year, famous rabbi here in Jerusalem, he said, when I told him about the story of the seal, he said, we should all be sealed for a good new year, coming new year. We should see the coming of the Messiah and the building of the Holy Temple. We should all have a healthy, new, and sweet year. Amen.